Hey there folks, Broke Astronomer here. My name is Michael, and as I threatened to do in a previous video, I decided what I would do on inclement weather days is browse the interwebs looking for anything space and astronomy related and cherry pick certain articles that I find interesting and then give you the cliff notes on what it is that I find. So, started off with this one. This is over on Sci News and it's about a white dwarf spotted eating planetary debris. So, I'll read you a little bit about this and then I'll talk to you and then we'll move on to the next segment here. Astronomers using NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory have detected 5 X-ray events from G29-38. And if you want to know what G29-38 is, you could right click on this, open new tab, and we have some information about this specific star. It is known as ZZ Piscium. It is a variable white dwarf star whose variability is due to large amplitude non-radial pulsations known as gravity waves. This is a good picture of it because this is exactly what it is that we're going to talk about. You see this artistic interpretation over here. Once again, right-click, open new tab, and we have quite a big picture here, which is among the closest 100 white dwarfs, the result of the first direct measurements of the accretion of rocky material onto a white dwarf. We'll move down a little bit and we'll read just a little bit more. A white dwarf is just, burned up all its fuel, shed its layers. We know that. Over 300,000 such stars have been discovered in our Milky Way galaxy, and many are believed to be accreting the debris from planets and other objects that once orbited them. So essentially what you have is, well, we can go back to that really pretty picture. What happens is as the rocky planet gets close to the outer layer of the star, it starts to rip apart. And as it starts to rip apart, it emits X-rays, which then can be seen. We'll go back and read the article a little bit. It tells us about this. As the planetary material is pulled into the white dwarf at a high enough rate, it slams into the stellar surface, forming a shock-heated plasma. This plasma, with a temperature of between 100,000 Kelvin to 1 million Kelvin, then settles onto the surface, and as it cools, it emits X-rays, which can be detected. And then a quote from the researcher there: "We have finally seen material actually entering the star's atmosphere," said Dr. Tim Cunningham, an astronomer in the Department of Physics at the University of Warwick. The white dwarf, the dust clouds, and how these spikes here can show you exactly where the planet is and the debris. And it's really interesting stuff to me because it brings up the Starship Enterprise. Let's park here. I'm looking at this image here they show in the article. Let's park here and we'll look out the bridge at this actually happening live. I think that kind of stuff is really neat. And so it does let my imagination kind of run wild when I consider a planet being eaten by a star. Not supernova, where the nova star is expanding and swallowing the planets. This is the planet being pulled in by gravity, and as it's pulling in, it's just being ripped apart. I think that kind of stuff is just really neat. So the next one I want to talk about is SpaceX considers shifting Starship testing to Florida. Now, why are they doing this? Well, because the schedule that they have in mind for launching all this is being hindered by environmental impact reports. So over in Boca Chica, Texas, where they have Starbase, Elon wants to launch the damn rocket, but because of environmental reports that need to be submitted and approved, he's kind of sitting there waiting. And they're saying, well, it could take up to a year to get these things back. But the problem with SpaceX, and it's kind of a good problem to have, is that they have quite a bit of productivity. They don't mess around. They get stuff built and done rapidly. It's actually quite impressive. To be blunt, they've developed Starbase, created, designed, built this super rocket, this Starship, and they had it all done faster than the people with the lab coats and the clipboards could go and figure out how bad the environmental impact would be and if they could approve it. It's just that their pace has outstripped the red tape. And so they are kind of stuck, and they're waiting for some kind of approval that says, yes, you can start launching your rockets. Well, you guys know Elon. He's not going to wait around for this nonsense. What is he going to do? Well, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to pick up his toys and move. Now, I'm not suggesting that Starbase will be dismantled or anything. I just think that he's not going to wait for testing on his Starship for this environmental impact to be done. Environmental impact report to be done. He is going to pick up Starship and he's going to move it to Cape Canaveral, Florida, rent a pad out there, and start launching it from Florida, where he doesn't have to worry about all this. Sure, it's going to cost him money, a lot of money. He's got to lease the pad. He's got to pay for transportation of all this. He's got to pay to construct some sort of all the cranes and all that stuff that he has to have to assemble all of this stuff. It's all got to be moved over to Florida. This rocket, because of scale, looks smaller than it is. When you actually get close to it, and I haven't been close to it, I'm just understanding from watching videos, it is massive. It is just big. Let me pause this real quick and I'll show you. Well, here's a size comparison posted by a user, WX Puck, 3 years ago, showing the differences in sizes. That's a Saturn V right next to the Starship. And here's a Statue of Liberty here. And there's a space shuttle. So as you can see, you can't just throw this thing in the back of a 18-wheeler and haul it off to Florida. This requires some planning. What else choices does he have? He has to wait a year or more. He can launch just the top part of it and do suborbital testing. That's been approved. But to do the heavy part of it, where you have the entire rocket, all the sections, it's just, he doesn't have approval for that. And he sits on his hands, or he moves to Florida, or he goes to Florida and does it there. So that's what this is all about. It's on Space News. Mountain View, California, SpaceX is prepared to shift the testing of its Starship, next generation launch vehicle, from Texas to Florida if there are extended delays in the ongoing environmental reviews. In a long-awaited and long-delayed update about the development of Starship from the company's Boca Chica, Texas site, Musk said he thought the Federal Aviation Administration would complete an environmental review and award SpaceX its launch license for Starship launches as soon as March. We don't have a ton of insight into where things stand with the FAA. We have gotten sort of rough indication that there may be an approval in March, but that's all we know. The FAA said last fall that it expected a complete environmental assessment of orbital launches for Starship and Boca Chica by the end of 2021. However, in late December, the agency pushed back that deadline to February 28th, citing a large number of public comments and ongoing discussions with other federal agencies. So moving on to the next one. So speaking of SpaceX, for a while there was some comments going around that there was a piece of, or actually it's an upper section of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that was going to impact the moon. Now, I consider that to be a bunch of, well, okay, we're going to pick on SpaceX again. And I always like to pick on SpaceX, but I'm going to pick on them again because debris, trash. We don't want to keep polluting. I mean, we're already polluting our world, and now we're going to have pieces of spaceship on the moon that's fallen because it's just trash and it just ends up getting to the moon. I mean, come on, really, right? So we were all blaming SpaceX, but then we find out that no, it's actually a Chinese rocket, which makes even more sense because the Chinese don't give a crap about anything but themselves. I'm kind of relieved that it's not SpaceX, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Trash on the moon is trash on the moon. In the case of celestial mistaken identity, a spent upper stage that will crash on the far side of the moon in March is now linked to a Chinese launch in 2014, not a SpaceX launch of an Earth and space science satellite in 2015. Illustrating the difficulties in tracking objects beyond Earth orbit. I don't really need to know more about all of this because the important meat of this discussion is just right here. They didn't bury the lead. You launch stuff up into space. I think that you should be forced by an international treaty that everybody has to abide by not to leave your trash in space. And I mean, all the pieces have to burn up in the atmosphere. They have to fall back down. Or I would even accept if there's some trajectory that you can have it keep going into the sun. You know, let the sun deal with it. It's an amazing garbage disposal place, right? Just have all the trash head on an orbit to the sun and be done with it. But anyways, what goes up should come down. It should not pollute space. We're tired of all the debris up there. You're at risk all the time if you're flying around in your spaceship, or you're on a space station, or you have a satellite, or whatever it is, being hit by debris and destroyed, and it's getting worse and worse every day. So with that, now we have trash on the moon, and I'm disgusted by this idea. Like, seriously, this is stupid. Now we're going to go over here to the James Webb Space Telescope. Now, this is my pessimism showing through again. I never expected this to work. I never expected it to even get off the ground. I never expected the rocket not to blow up on launch. I never expected it to work once it got up there. But apparently, unless they're hiding the truth, it seems like this James Webb Space Telescope is actually on schedule to do the things it's supposed to do. Now, this is basically a selfie stick image where a camera out on a pole is turned around and shot back at the mirror array. The white one that you see there that's illuminated happens to be pointing towards a bright star at the time. So it just focused exactly right back at the camera lens and, it's illuminated. I get that vibrations during launch would probably, destroy any kind of collimation. I mean, I can't even get my optical tube out to my observatory on the front seat of my car without the collimation getting all screwed up. So it doesn't surprise me, but it's kind of disappointing too, because my telescope doesn't cost billions of dollars, right? It's yeah. So anyways, it's kind of disappointing that it wasn't ready to go once it got up there, but it isn't. Okay. So then this is an image that I thought was pretty cool. It's called the Initial Alignment Mosaic. So they took a mosaic of the sky, and if you don't know what a mosaic is, it's when they take a whole bunch of little pictures that all meet up together. It's like, it's like graph paper where each section is its own image. So you have an image, but you put them all together, it's a bigger portion of the sky. So that's what we're seeing here. And each of these brighter points of light, like not this one out here, for example, you see my mouse, not that one, but the brighter ones, you count 18 of them. And what they did was they kind of jiggled the mirror and they looked for which ones were moving. So you have 18 mirrors. So they go, okay, this is mirror number 1. And I'm making this part up. I don't know what they actually designate them as, but you take mirror number 1 and you kind of jiggle it and you look for which star moves. Okay, which one moves? Okay, that's mirror 1. Okay, number 2, which star moved? Okay, that's 2. And once you go through all 18 of them, you can figure out which of these stars is related to which mirror. And then you go, okay, that one's got to be brought this way. That one's got to be brought this way. This one's got to be brought this way. And you move them, tweak them until all of the images come together. And then you do a focus. And then again, you move them and focus. And it's an iterative process that's going to take probably a month or two before they actually have a good image of a well-collimated star in the center of all of the optics. And they'll have something that we can all see. So I'm looking forward to that. And I just thought this was interesting that a lot of tweaking is involved in getting this correct. But it's up there and it's working. And so, that's exciting stuff. Moving on to, and with this one, it's a neat little article about how at nighttime, that little helicopter droid that they have out there on Mars will actually glow. The blades will create a certain static electricity as they go through the Martian atmosphere. It will essentially glow of whatever color that you can actually see at night. Now, up to this point, there has not been any nighttime activity. NASA's experimental Ingenuity helicopter does not fly during this time, but future drones will be cleared for evening flight to look for this glow. This has been episode 1 of What's Going On Out There with Broke Astronomer. My name is Michael. Thank you for hanging out. Please remember, like and subscribe on your way out. Comment in the comment section about any of the things we talked about today. I would like to get your point of view on it. With that, clear skies.